Hi, Ann Cornick from Paint and Porcelain, and today we're going to be working on snowmen. Now, I'm here to help beginners learn how to China paint and also hopefully to encourage those of you that have been painters for a while to paint along with us. Now, the snowman that I posted is a first fire. It's not the final product. This is the final product. And let me get them straight and then put them this way. There we go. He's a very special snowman because as I bring him closer, you can see he has enamel in the background. That's the snowflakes. He has luster on the edges. He has, what do we call it? Flux mixed into both the background and the blue on the snow. We're using metallics over here. That's a metallic. And we're also, if you don't have a tea tile, we're going to be talking about borders, and we're going to be doing borders. We're going to also be using Coke syrup instead of ink and pen. So this is going to be your go-to tile when you're trying to remember how to do things. If you keep this handy, you can look at it and make sure that you've done everything correctly. It's going to take us a while to finish him because of all the different finishes that we have put on him. But I think you'll enjoy it a lot, and it really ends up coming out absolutely beautiful. For snowmen, you can do any kind of snowman you want. You can make up your own snowman. This morning when I did a little bit of the work ahead of time, I just drew it right on the tile. So, okay, a couple things about the tile. The first tile, this tile that I just finished, the one that I finished, didn't have any holes on the back. Normally you can see holes around this rim if they do. But same manufacturer, same company, this one does. See the holes? See the hole there? Yep. So always check the back of whatever you're doing so that you can always tell if it can be hung. Because if it can be hung on the wall, then you want to make an X at the top so that you can keep track of where the top is as you're working on the piece. Also check for labels on the back. Some of those labels can fire into the piece rather than firing off the piece. And that's important. Okay, we're going to use a fluxed imperial green. The imperial green can be turquoisey, but you don't even have to use imperial green. If you want to use a blue, like a baby blue for the snow or a blue-gray Copenhagen, you can even use a gray for the snow. There's a lot of different colors you can use to give shadow to your snow. Because of the dark blue sky, I probably myself would have used like a lighter blue, like a baby blue or a cool shadow. But at a recent teachers meeting that we had last month, Ann Sanderson showed us how to do scenes. And one of the things that she said is that she loves to use imperial green for shading the snow. She just thinks the color really makes it look cool, cold, and frosty like it's supposed to. So I tried it on this piece. And I want, if you have this color, I'd like you to try it just so you kind of see what it looks like, because it's an alternative I hadn't thought about, okay? I'm going to show you how to mix up Flux dark blue because we are going to use dark blue. Any dark blue that you have will work, even a dark Copenhagen for the sky. And you can make the sky a light blue if you want it to be a sunny day. Yellow brown, I have my carnation because my carnation does not fire out and it's a red. Then down here I have spruce. You can use any dark green, black green, shading green, warm brown green, they will all work. You can use any light brown, I have auburn, and then black. You need a black of some sort because we are going to be painting in things with black like his hat and things like that. Now I'm going to tip you down and we'll get started. Okay, so this is our snowman that we're going to work on today. And I have already done quite a bit. And the reason I did this is because you don't want to stand there and watch me outline stuff if you can help it. If you don't have the edge of the tea tile, if you have one of these things, this is it hooks onto the end of the plate like this, and you can put your pencil. You can't use your Sharpie, but you can put your pencil in here anywhere you want. Decide how deep you want your edge to be. I wouldn't make it super deep because you don't want to use up all of your luster. I'd probably go with like a middle type thing, and then just you hold it and you just go around I'm pressing up there so you can see. And you go all the way around and it will make a border for you. And if that doesn't work, you know, you can always just sort of sketch a border. Try that if you want. Or use a compass. If for those of you that don't know what a compass is, I have one here. I can show you. Where is it? Here it is. This is a compass. Now, it won't work very easily. You might have to put a piece of tape in the middle to hold the compass. This is a compass. And this little latch comes undone, and you can remove the pencil and put in the type of pencil that you want to use, like this. Well, I don't think this guy fits very well. Oh, here it goes. Go in that way. And then close it. Make sure that it's even or a little bit longer than than this point. And then you're just going to take and put maybe a piece of tape down, figure out how deep you want it, and the tape will help hold it in place, and you can go around like this, and it will make a circle for you. So that's another option that you have if you have a compass close by. So the first thing I want to show you is how to mix sugar water. So in order to mix sugar water, let me take it off this way and I'll show you. You're going to take your tile. You're going to take the color that you want. In this case, I want Best Black. Now for sugar water, I use Coca-Cola. I call it Coke syrup. And and I always just keep it in one of these little containers, and then that way I don't have to constantly make another thing of Coke go flat. So I had a can this morning though, and in order to make it go flat, you just take 2 cups like this, and you just keep pouring from cup to cup until it goes completely flat, because you want flat pop to use, or soda. I think you guys call it soda. We call it pop here. And you're going to take a very small, and you can also use 7-Up the same way, or you can use the sugar water that you mix. And I don't have the formula for that, so I can't tell you that offhand. And you're going to take your paint, and you don't need a lot, because it's going to dry up and it's not going to be useful to you. And you're just going to put a little bit on here. Really, that's enough. That's a lot. It's about 1/3 of what you normally use, okay? And then you're going to use your Coke syrup. And I usually put a drop off to the side because it can get pretty soupy pretty quickly. And I pull about half of that in and start mixing it. And when I'm comfortable that that's not enough, what you want it is to be like ink. Basically the same consistency as ink. Now see, I haven't used it all. And you're going to have to add more Coke syrup to it as you go if you want to keep it moving. And this is my little guy that I'm working on right now, so you can see him. And I've done most of the work on there for him so that you don't really have to do a lot of it. So I'm going to use my pen now, just like I would for ink. And I'm just going to go in and pull it up. I even put a fresh point on my pen, and I just scoop it up. You can test it if you want, but the one thing you want to make sure when you mix this, and I just pulled up a big clump, so I obviously didn't do a good job, is that you get all the clumps out, okay? Now I got them all out. And you're going to take your pen and scoop it up like that, just like you would ink, and then you're going to draw on here. Now, for me, the only things that I really have left to draw are his arms. It doesn't go quite as far as ink does, but this is a new bit on here, a nib on here, so I use 102 on the silver. You have to find the right nib depending on the type of piece that you have, the type of pen you have. Okay, and I'm just going to put a little on this side too. I'm going to make his other arm over here. Oh. Now, why am I using Coke syrup? Everybody's going, why are you using that because it dries, which means on my first coat, now you saw my first coat on the other one, I didn't outline him. I waited and did that as a separate fire. I've done a lot of fires on this guy, which is uncommon for me because I don't like to do that. And then I'm going to have the trees back here, but I don't think the trees need to be outlined particularly. I did on my final piece, and I just did a little bit of outlining on the hill back here. Just enough to give it a sense of, you know, that it's there. And I'll do the same thing here. Okay. Okay, now this is the beauty, and it's the reason I did a lot of this ahead of time, is you can just brush over this and it doesn't come off. Make sure you clean your brush well. That syrupy stuff gets real sticky in there. You may even want to use water to clean your brush. And I'm going to take and wipe that up now, and I'm going to use a little Coke syrup right on the plate. I don't have water here right now. And just break it down that way so that I can get it up, okay, on my tile. So now we're just gonna basically paint things in. The next thing we're gonna do is probably work the sky down, and then we'll paint him, because, oh, actually we should start with him and then paint out. I don't know what planet I'm on today, but yes, we should start with him. I'm gonna use my number 10 square shader. I'm gonna put shading on first, and then I'll do the details, because if you do the details then put the shading on, you're just going to mess up the shading. So let's start with the black, and we're going to start on this side of his hat and just pull across. And you can automatically leave, I'm using my regular paints now, nothing fancy. You can and it's a full load, and you can leave a section that is white kind of in the middle as an accent. And then put a little more dark over here on this side. There we go. And then you're going to make it dark under here, under the hat near his head. And you can make the brim anything you want. I do want to make the brim black. It works for me. Before I do that, oh, well, I think I'll do that, and then I'll do the little holly that I have there. So I'm going to make it black. Okay. Wipe it. Now, up here where I did this, I want to give it a little bit of a, make it, so I'm pulling it from the middle over to make it look more like it's the shine of the, now we'll pull it back this way a little bit. Just make it look more like it's a shine. Come on, put a little black on there. Giving me a hard time. Come on. There we go. And you just feather it a little bit. Now, if it's not dark enough on this fire, you can always darken it on the next one. Clean up your mess. So here I kind of went out of the lines. Here I kind of went out of the lines. Here I went out of the lines a little bit. Clean it up. If it's your snowman, you want to make sure he's not a mess. I'm going to do my holly. I have a little holly right here. So I'm going to take and use my regular colors. Take a little moss. So you might want to add a little moss to what I said for colors. I think it will make it look a little better. When it's so close to the black like that, it's really hard to see. And so it's better if it has a lighter color. Here, see? It's a little too heavy. I'm using a real tiny number 2 square shader. And then I'm doing it down here. And then I will wipe it out up here and put the green, the light green in up there. There we go. And now I'm going to take a scroller and I'm just going to do the little berries there. Okay, so this part, easy. It's like coloring in a coloring book, especially if you've already done the colors on here. You can do the nose in a little yellow now, and then you can do it in more of an orange later. You're going to do the eyes in a black. But before we get too far with that, we're going to do the shading. So we're going to take my brush, my number 10 square shader. Now I'm using that Imperial Jade. You don't have to use this color, but I wanted to use it just to let you see what it looks like, because it was a new idea to me, and I feel like when I hear something new, I should share it. And I'm just putting it on ever so lightly, just enough. This is how you make snow look like snow. You just shadow it, and you shadow it lightly. You don't shadow it real hard. You just shadow it lightly. In fact, if you put the color on and you think it's too dark, you can always take an eraser, a sponge, and pat it off, and that will also help. Also, the other thing is you want to make it a little uneven when you're putting the color on, because it's snow. Snow is kind of bumpy, lumpy. Let's put a little color over on this side, only because he's got that scarf. It's going to cast a little shadow there. Okay. All right, so that's the extent of my coloring on this. And then we'll go into the background. So now I'm going to finish his face out. Let's do it real quick. It's really, oops, you saw that? It's a huge lump of something on there. Let me get it off. Okay, I'm going to use coal. It should be a lump of coal, right? And I'm just going to go around and make his eye. And then I'm going to take a piece of coal and do this one. So it's black that I'm using, best black. And I'm using my pointer, or my, what is this? It's like a scroller. And I want to make sure the eyes are roughly the same size, because then he looks dumb. And then you're just going to put in little coal pieces for his mouth. That is not hard, is it? So far you've learned how to make the Coke syrup, which is going to be huge. I can just tell you, in the future, if you want to do something and you really want to outline it and make it look kind of, cute, the fact that you can do it with Coke syrup is going to save you so much time. It's not even funny. I just need to clean this up here. These are my stubs. You can buy them at the art supply store. They get dirty on the end, and I tried to sharpen them and things. I've heard some people say that you can do it on sandpaper. I haven't done that yet, but I have an assortment, and they're great when you just need to clean up here and there. So I've been using them pretty religiously, and they've worked really well for me. I just find that it's kind of better than a Q-tip, because it doesn't have that little fuzz, and it just cleans up beautifully. So now I'm going to put some red on his scarf. And look, see the outline? It didn't move when I put the red on. This is why we use Coke syrup. Here I'm going to put the red, but I'm just going to come across a little bit, leave a little bit of a light there, and then maybe one here. Isn't that something? So for those of you that have tried and tried and tried to use pens and you're not successful, this is another good way of creating a pen look. And then see down here, I can just go like this, and I still have the black there. So that's a huge benefit of using Coke syrup. It is not as easy to use sometimes because it dries up. But if you keep that in mind, and you watch for it to dry up and keep adding stuff to it, or just start over, you're not using a whole lot of paint, you'll find that it can be very helpful to you. Okay, now I'm going to take brown and I'm going to do these branches on the top side, because the black I put down is actually under to make the shadow. So you kind of have to think about where your shadow is going to be. And then I'm going to do a little on this side too. Oh, this was not a good thing. I have to put the sky in. Okay, let's do the sky next. Let me move them off. I don't want to go too far with those because I may have to just wipe them off and start over. For those of you that missed any of the information about flux, we're going to mix a little flux into our blue for the background. Can you see? Let me see here if I tilt it. See how it shines now? Normally I get a dud. It doesn't, it's real matte when I paint this particular blue. And I don't want that. I want it to be very shiny when I'm done with it. So I'm going to mix it up, and you put your paint down, the amount that you need. You should always, well, you don't need to, but if you want it to shine, you should add flux to any of the blues, the greens, just not anything that is, what do they say, iron? Okay, and then I'm going to add, so that's my blue. I'm going to add about 1/3 as much of the flux. There, okay. So I'd say that's 1/3 to 2/3. I don't. And then I'm going to add my regular mixing medium. So I use mineral oil. And I'm just gonna, oops, I've got green on it. There we go. I'm just gonna mix, take a little mineral oil and mix these two and mix them together. You can do it all at once, or if you're doing something and you want to add it later, hang on, I think I'm just going to use my dropper bottle here. You can just take it off your palette and add 1/3 white flux to it by mixing the flux excuse me, I've got the hiccup, separately and then mixing it in. So it's up to you what you want to do. Adding flux does make it a little drier, so I always have to add. There we go. I just wanted it to complement the luster that I put on my piece. And so I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way. There we go. Dip it in the bottle. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to have some flux in it. So it has a little bit of a shine to it. Okay. So here we go. That's a nice mix. See how nice that came out? Make sure you get all your little bits and pieces mixed in. Of course, that's the main deal with anything that you paint. If you get a big glob of a color on your piece, it will fire much darker as a glob on your piece. And it's very difficult to get rid of. Okay, so now this was Mary Ashcroft's dark. So she has mainly Rouge stuff. So that's what I used for the dark blue. Where do you get flux? Check the big stores. I got this from Ashcroft Studios, which is Mary Ashcroft. Can you see on there? Ashcroft Studios. And I just bought it. It was $4. I got 3 or 4 of them, I think, at the time at one of these schools, so that I had it. I think it was the Indiana school, so that I had it. So I could do this kind of thing. And then I came home and found that I had a lot of flux here too. There are a lot of things that if you ever get in a state, you'll get it and you won't know what to do with the stuff. Hang on to it because later on you'll find out. Okay, so this is this. We're going to do the background now. I'm going to use a big brush. This is a 1/2 inch, and this is a Joyce Burlew. I like this one. It's a metal ferrule, and I think that works better. I'm going to use my regular oil with the flux, full load, and I'm just painting it in. Now down here, I'm going to have to be careful. I'm not worried about taking up the black because that's not really the issue. But I'm worried about taking up the brown that I put on here. That was kind of silly of me. I shouldn't have done that. Alrighty. Now you may need 2 coats of this, and you're going to be doing a second fire anyway. So, You know, if you need 2 coats of it, fine, then you put the enamel on in the 3rd fire, and I'll show you how to do that. It's a good practice for somebody. Yeah, this is mixing into my background, so we'll see. So I'm just putting it on. I'm not doing a super duper job because I'm going to pat it. I know I'm going to pat it with the sponge. I want it to be a very smooth background. I'm just going to paint over it, and then that way I can... So you really should do these before you do the arms. I wasn't thinking. Because if you take flux and you pat it with a sponge, the sponge will remove the flux. It'll make it less shiny. So what you may want to do is just apply the color as best you can on this time. I want it to be somewhat smooth because it's a night sky. So I'm going to start doing my feathering. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go this way. I'm on the very end of my brush now. I'm going to go this way, this way. Yeah, see, that brown is coming out. There'll be trees there, so we won't worry about that. I know I had a moon in the sky on the other one, and I put it in on the 2nd fire, and it worked fine. Now, if you want to smooth things out, if you're going one direction, if you go the other direction, it will smooth things out. So if I went that way, now I go this way, it starts to smooth things out. You go this way, and then you go this way, but the problem with the darker colors is you can always see where your brush stopped. So what I might do on this one is not worry about whether or not the flux gets bumped off, and just use a sponge to smooth it, because the 2nd coat, as you know, if you've been painting a while, always goes on easier. And it's always less of a hassle. I did spray this tile with isopropyl alcohol before I started, just to make sure that it wasn't going to not grab the paint at all. I've had a couple of tiles where that's happened. Okay, usually when you put in flux, it makes your paint a lot smoother, and I think it has to some degree. But I am going to use my sponge, and I'm going to fold it around my finger, take it off my finger so it's a little thing there, a little bubble, sort of. And then I'm just gonna, I'm getting the brown off. Pat. And then the next time I do it, I'll put it on smoothly, and I won't have to do this, and it will be very shiny. So it'll still be shiny. It just wouldn't be, it would be more shiny if I didn't do this. And then you take the same sponge, you can turn it inside out or whatever, and you just lightly touch it. And that will help to take care of some of those. You just want it to look like a sky, a night sky. And I just like it solid. Okay. And then if you want, you can take your Q-tip or something and just sort of wipe off the edges, wipe off the rim. This has a kind of a rim on it. Get the color out of the way that way. I know I still have some brown there. I'm not going to worry about that so much. I think I'm just going to go back and add the brown. And add a brown right here. And that takes care of it. Put a little down here. A little up here. And then I'm going to do it on this side too. Put this guy out here. Oops, hang on. Ah, nuts. This isn't a pointer that I'm using. This is like a number 4. Because I like branches to be a little clumsy. So there we go. Okay. Alrighty. These little guys down here are real easy to do. You just take and do them with, I use a number 4 rounded brush. I kind of like it. That's this one. And I just put a little yellow brown, regular yellow brown this time. Next time we can do something fancier. And I'm going to put it on the back of this ear. I'm going to put it on his face, down his one little ear there. And then this part here is the outside of the ear. So I'm going to put it there, down here, and over here. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Next time I'll add a brown to it and it'll make it look more realistic. And on the inside of his ear, I'm going to take my carnation, just grab a little bit of it and put it here, just to make his ear a little pink inside, okay? The bird is the same way. I'm just going to use yellow-brown right now. And I'm just going to go on him and over his face and his little wings. And then next time, we will make him real fancy. I don't want to play too much. Okay, we're going to put the trees in. I do trees upside down, evergreens. I always do them upside down. I'm just going to use my spruce. This is a very simple project intentionally. And I put a couple lines so I know where my trees are. And then I come over here and I put a couple lines so I know where my trees are. I want them to be taller this way. Okay. Then I flip it upside down. And I go this way, and this way, and this way. But these are kind of more cartoony. These are not real trees, so that's the reason I'm doing this. They're way off in the distance. Nobody's going to know the difference. Okay. And then I do this. I even ice my cookies when they're Christmas trees this way. Turn them upside down. You can get the icing to do this and make it look just like little Christmas trees. There you go, see? Ta-da! And then I'm going to do these on this side. So if you're a beginner, this is a great project for you. It should be simple as pie. To just whip out these little, and of course the branches should be a little bit bigger at the bottom because they've been growing longer than the ones up at the top. And they don't have to be real even. Now, if you want to make them look like snow, without having to put any kind of enamel on them, you can just take your eraser and go like this. Wipe it off in between. See? Ta-da! Now we'll do the ones over here. Make sure to do one in the middle as you go down them. Right, left, middle, right, left, middle. There you go. There you go. Now they look like they have snow on them. Ta-da! It's very simple. So now the only thing we have left is to do the shading in the background here on the snow. And the way that I did it on mine was I started and I just went around the edge because I kind of want the edge to have an edge to it. So I'm using the Imperial Green, and the only reason I'm using it is because it was something new and different. You can use, like I said, any color. Here you start pulling it across the snow because my moon is out this way, and so this is back here is all going to be like that. And if you get a little of the brown in, don't worry. And then here, I'm going to put a little because he casts a little shadow too, and then pull it across. Okay. And then I'm going to come and keep going around the plate with the color. And I'm just doing it ever so lightly. I don't want it to be too dark. Here, let me pull it up here so you can see it. Okay, down at the bottom here. And here. And then, of course, he has a little under him because he is a snowman after all. Okay. And there's a little bit of a cast here because it's a little bit of a hill. So pull it that way. And then I'm going to pull it up this way. Now, these little guys walked up to him. So you're going to make it their little footprints. And again, you just use the imperial green. Now, a bird walks real chickadee, you know, they walk like that. The rabbit does like two, 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 like that, right up into the back. And then if these are a little too dark, you can either punch them with your finger or take a little eraser and just, if you think they're too dark, don't make them too dark. Better to have them too light than too dark. Okay, that's my first fire. This is a real good, let's learn a lot of different things kind of project. Alrighty, so pick up those brushes, keep painting. I will see you next time. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed the program, and I hope you'll take a minute to subscribe so that other people can learn more about China painting and we can get the word out to more people. You also can look at the links below. My Paintnporcelain.com website has a lot of freebies and printables for new and experienced painters, as well as studies, supplies, and even some of my hand-painted china. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.